Real talk with verified wellness providers. The Wellness Connection.
Hi, everybody. How are you all? Welcome to the Wellness Connection. My name is Dr. Pele Yu, and I'm with Tanya Phillips. And we are so excited. We are going to introduce a new friend of ours, one of the wellness providers in our network, in our area. Her name is Gina Allgaier, and I look forward to knowing more about Gina.
Yeah. Hi, I'm
Welcome.
excited to be here. Thank you.
Welcome. We're so glad you're here.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Let's get started. Tell us about yourself and how can the community know more about what you're doing and how you can help them with, the things that they're looking for health-wise.
Okay. Well, hi, everyone. It is so good to be here with all of you today. And just, want to start out by saying very excited about the Arkansas Wellness Network and the great work that has gotten started and the connections that are and will be made. So, very excited about that. And yes, my name's Gina. I'm local to Northwest Arkansas, and I consider myself a well-being warrior.
I love that.
Yeah, it has become my passion. I am a well-being warrior. I spent over 30 years in corporate America doing that life. And while it was great in a lot of ways and benefited me and my family in a lot of ways, living that kind of life for so long did take a toll. So, I spent most of my days seated at a computer, hunched over,
Yeah.
and, that leads to, of course, a lot of posture and chronic neck issues, not to mention our phones, all the screens that we use all the time. And so it kind of started with that back in 2015. And then in 2017 had a personal tragedy, and I'll share more about that another day. But that led me to start a nonprofit, and the nonprofit is called Speak Up About Drugs. And again, we can talk about that on another day. But in that work, the goal initially was to educate the community. And so for the first 2 years or so, did a lot of public speaking, a lot of educational work with the goal of helping people understand about the drug landscape that was both the illicit and the illegal drug landscape that was evolving very quickly at that time. And in that work, I started realizing that while education was key and great needed to happen, that there was just more to it. And about that time, COVID started happening.
Yeah.
And I had a whole group of individuals who were in recovery. But when COVID happened, treatment centers shut down. Several of the
Um,
sober living houses shut down. AA meetings weren't happening, and people were just left to fend for themselves.
wow. I hadn't thought about the consequences of COVID on that type of situation.
It was a real challenge. Just all of a sudden, people went from going to daily, weekly meetings to nothing. Now, of course, eventually online Zoom meetings happened,
Right.
things reopened. But in that early month or so, when it first started, people didn't have resources.
And the isolation, I'm sure, probably was not helpful in a recovery either.
And
No.
this was in Fayetteville area or
I
Northwest
live in Bentonville.
Bentonville.
And so that's really interesting because Bentonville is this mecca of mountain biking. And so actually what had happened is there's a trail that backs up to my house. And when we lost my son to addiction, they named the trail after him. So
Oh,
it's called
what was the
Tristan's
trail? Because
Trail.
I have been there around that time when my son was still in high school.
Okay. Well, yeah, it's called Tristan's Trail. It's a great mountain biking trail, very popular one around here. And I say that with joy in my face and in my voice and in my heart because I'm so grateful that they named this trail after him. He was one of the early adopters of mountain biking here in the area. And so it was very fitting, but it's really just been a wonderful thing because we've been able to use it to get people on bikes and help keep them sober. And so that's what I did.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. So I had a man that was working for me that was in recovery and he loved to ride bikes. And so he really, created this Ride for Recovery mountain biking program that we had. And so, it started as him and one other person going out and biking. And then the next day there were three people that went. And then the next time there were 10. And it just continued to grow. And so, again, during that early time of COVID, we could be outside and they were on bikes. And so that's really how we kept people sober during that time. And so it grew from there. We ended up growing that program. But what I realized is that movement was one of the missing keys to helping people
Uh-huh.
keep sober, right?
Yes, yes.
Movement.
Movement
Yeah.
is so important.
It's so important. It's so important for our body, for our mind, getting those positive endorphins flowing, right?
Yeah.
Building community that you mentioned earlier, Tanya, the connection, building community when they were biking. And these individuals had never biked before, or maybe, when they were a child. Most of them didn't have bikes. So we had a wonderful partner here in the community that would donate bikes to us,
Oh, wow. That's
old
awesome.
bikes, refurbished
Wonderful.
bikes,
Yeah.
Walmart bikes. We'd get them on bikes. But what ended up happening as the program grew is they got addicted to biking. They were suddenly buying their own bikes. And the next thing I knew, they went from just casual biking to racing.
Wow.
Yeah, and so they started racing, and that whole thing, that whole Ride for Recovery evolved into a whole big thing. I ended up forming an adventure racing team, which is a multi-sport, multi-day race with people who were on their recovery journeys. And so
Oh, I love that.
it was incredible. I actually took a team to South Africa to race in the World Championship
Really?
for
What?
adventure racing.
Huh.
That is
Yeah.
so
What a great
cool.
achievement.
Yeah. So so we started the biking in 2019, I guess. And then the adventure racing, we went to South Africa in 2023. Yeah.
That is really neat. What a great byproduct of a terrible situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it was so fitting, just because my son had loved it so much and had been one of the early adopters. It was just so fitting to be able to create this. And again, we used the trail as our training ground. And then as the trails expanded here in the area, I mean, it's just a playground for people who like to mountain bike. And so, they were able to, quickly increase their skill level and get into these different mountain biking races. And then we like expanded it. We have the Greenway here. So we would get families biking with their kids. And there was just a lot of good things that came out of that. And really during that time, I really went back to what I had learned from my son. So at the end of his life, at the end of his addiction journey, he was trying to do all the things to improve his well-being. So getting back to being physically active, but he was also trying to realign his sleep schedule. He was trying to eat healthier. He knew, I kept saying your brain needs to be rewired. I didn't know then what that meant, but I just knew that he was not acting and talking and even walking like my son. And so there was just a lot of things that happened. And he was the one who turned me on to things like supplements and how important supplements are for us because we're so lacking in different vitamins and minerals. And so all of that just led me down this well-being path. And so in January, I think of 2020, there was a lady out in Arizona who had lost her own son to addiction. And I don't know, she owned like a Pilates or a yoga studio. I didn't really know what she did, but I just knew she had authored a book about her son and her journey. And I just wanted to know more. And so she created a weekend conference, like a weekend retreat. And I went to it. Honestly, I didn't know what it was about. I kind of thought it was for grieving parents. I really didn't know what it was about. And I got there and immediately realized I was a fish out of water. It was this amazing group of ladies who were on their initial journey to become coaches, grief coach, life
Oh.
coach, executive coach, different kinds of coaches. And I had a nonprofit that had people biking. At that point, I didn't have any training. I didn't have any ambitions to be a coach. I didn't know anything about that. And that weekend was transformative for me. And I just became very passionate about wanting to learn more about the well-being space and really actually helping people improve their overall well-being. And that weekend, we wrote a document of self, of our true essence. And that's where I came up with I'm a well-being warrior.
I love
That's
that.
cool.
And what a crazy coincidence that you were thinking you were going to this grief event and you were really going to a coaching
Yeah,
event, and
yeah.
it changed your life too.
It put me on a whole new path, and it was actually the weekend of my birthday. We get to Arizona, and my husband took me, and he was gonna drop me off, but before we went, I wanted to go hike, and so we went down this road, we were heading towards this mountain we were gonna hike, and there was one of those digital signs outside of a school that you see, and it said, "Happy birthday," and then it said Tristan, which is my son's name.
What?
And I get chills when I say that.
Yeah.
No
But the sign
kidding.
said, "Happy birthday, Tristan," and I just happened to look up and see it, and it was my birthday, and I just knew I'm supposed to be here.
It was
This is
meant
good.
to
I'm
be.
supposed to be here.
It's wonderful. I have a question. All right. So it seems like you have had a previous life, prior life, right? Before the becoming a wellness warrior. How much of the lessons that you've learned in your previous opportunity that has transferred here in a positive way that made you your own unique wellness warrior? So I'm curious about that.
Yeah, excellent question, because whatever we do, right, we learn some sort of skills, and so the idea is you take those skills and you transfer them to the next thing, and being in corporate America, I led marketing for one of the Fortune 100 companies, basically called on the Fortune 1 company forever. And so I learned
You
a
might need
whole
to
lot.
tap into that for the
Yeah.
Arkansas Wellness Network, just saying.
So I learned a whole lot about just a lot of skills, right? About how to present, how to get information across to individuals, to equip and empower people to move in the direction that they choose to move. And um, I think, just learning how to organize people, rally people, how to promote. We did a lot of big things. I always say my greatest accomplishment in my 26 years at Kraft Foods was the company I worked for. My greatest accomplishment there was working with a vendor partner at a competitive company, actually, and we created the Walmart Hunger Campaign, which has run every year since 2012.
Yeah, I've seen it.
And yeah, it runs every year. Like I said, since every year since 2012, except one. It didn't run the first year of COVID, but that's run every year. And through that program, we were able to feed more people. I mean, that was the ultimate objective of the program, was to help Walmart feed more people, provide food to the food banks all around the country. And I think that was really a turning point in my professional career because it fueled my passion. Yeah, I was just really passionate about wanting to help people, again, improve their well being. And in that space, it was through food. And so taking those skills and coming out on my own, having the skills to start a business, to create a nonprofit, to know how to run it, to organize it, to maintain it, to apply for grants, all that sort of thing. So there were a lot of transferable skills, but it was really that passion that sparked within me, co-creating that food program, that really led me over time, especially after the loss of my son, to know that I wanted to do something meaningful.
Aw,
Yeah.
yeah, that's wonderful. I love that. What a perfect fit you are for the Arkansas Wellness Network.
Thank you. I'm excited to be a part of it. Yeah, and so over time, that work just grew. I started actually making my way towards becoming a coach. I went through Deepak Chopra's coaching platform to become a well-being coach, to get trained as a meditation teacher, an Ayurveda teacher, his yoga instructor. I went through her program to become a yoga instructor. And so I've just continued to learn and grow. Also, and Tanya, I know you and I have talked about this. I was very fortunate to be trained here in Arkansas, Northwest Arkansas specifically, as a whole health facilitator. And so this is a curriculum that came out of the VA, as Tanya and I have
Yeah,
discussed.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Familiar with that.
And this work is to help people improve their whole person health.
So important.
So
All aspects. People think of health and they or well-being and they think mental health, physical health, nutrition, but they normally stop there. And there's
Mhm.
so many other aspects to your health and
Yeah.
well-being.
Well, and you've really opened my mind to that with some of the great providers that have come into this network. Like I love to travel. I know it improves my well-being, but I've really never thought about it as part of, when we look at the circle of health, that whole health wheel in the different components, the different areas of self-care. I really hadn't thought about travel before. And, now reading all those posts about the benefits of travel on your mental, physical, emotional, spiritual well-being, it just justifies the travel I'm about to go
Right?
do.
I know.
Right. But it just really cements for me how important, if that's something that sparks well-being in you, it is something that's really important and can be done in a very meaningful and beneficial way.
That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and even financial well-being.
Yes.
When I was a suicide prevention program manager, a lot of, the people that were considering suicide, it was because their finances. They were struggling and they couldn't see a way out, and they just felt kinda overwhelmed, and so, yeah, there's so many different aspects to your overall well-being, so yeah.
You're exactly right. The financial and the career part of it are a big part of that. And that was something that before being trained as a facilitator, I really didn't realize that either. And I literally had very little awareness about that. Now, as a mom of 20 something year old adult males who are trying to make their way into adulthood, getting jobs and creating careers for themselves, being able to support themselves financially, all of that is more important to me than ever because I really understand now how tricky and what a balance that can be. And if you can't support yourself, the stress that that can cause and the imbalance in your
That is
mental.
true. Like, as a physician, we don't ever talk about professional well-being, and particular for me as a pediatrician, we always just say, "Yeah, how's school?" And we kind of relegate that to the professionals in the school, guidance counselor, the parents, and all that to figure those things out. But it's very, very important as a dynamic within your family,
Yes.
like counseling parents like us. How do you explore those opportunities in your children? And it's very hard because some of the kids, they learn it from us. So if we don't have that capacity, it's going to be very hard to teach it.
Or if we're struggling
Exactly.
with our own things that are going on in our
Going
life
on in our
and
lives,
we're not handling it well, they're seeing it
they're
and learning it from their
learning
end
it
too,
from
yeah.
their end and how to react to those things in a way that they would know. So it's a very, very interesting dynamic.
Yeah, so many compounding factors to
A
our
lot of
well-being.
factors. And of course, working with families in addiction, I see that all the time. They're either not equipped to educate their children on any of this. Most times the children see and unfortunately experience, the ramifications firsthand. But I will tell you, as you work, in my cases, I've worked with individuals and one guy in particular comes to mind, a client who we literally saved his life not once, but twice. Literally saved his life. Today, he is a productive member of his family, of his community, and of the workforce.
Nice.
And he
Love
has
that.
role modeled recovery and well being and taking his skills in his hardships and now using them to support his family. It's been so transformative. And this was a family who his mom lost his older brother to addiction. His wife was struggling, but they have this amazing daughter. And today, the daughter is just incredible. And I think she's just going to really thrive in life because her dad and then his wife, her parents were able to pull themselves up out of their addiction and become productive citizens.
Oh,
And she's
that's
now
wonderful.
learning.
That's really wonderful. Now, do you engage your clients or your patient population? Do you engage them one on one, or do you also work the corporate, like from your previous job? What are the opportunities where you're engaging with your clientele?
So a lot of it is one on one. People will come to me by word of mouth, through social media, etc. And so I spend part of my time referring people out to treatment programs, recovery programs, etc. And then from there, I'll work individually with someone coaching them or with maybe their family unit, and then also offer group programming, well-being programming. So it might be a sound bath, it might be bike
Love that.
riding,
That's it.
whatever it is. And so that's all out in the community. What has happened is that I haven't gone to work in the corporate space per se, but I actually have. I'm now a well-being coach and facilitator on the new Walmart campus here in Bentonville.
I
So
love that.
it's so wonderful. They have a whole health and fitness center, and it's an incredible space, first of all, and it's for Walmart associates and their families.
That's
But,
awesome. I
yeah,
love that they're encouraging wellness.
they are encouraging it. It's really become a focal point, and the associates are taking advantage of it, and they're coming into this. We had over 1,000,000 visits at the Walton Whole Health and Fitness Center last year.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
That's
wonderful.
It's
wonderful.
just incredible. And so I had learned along the way that, in my opinion, everyone is in recovery from something. I mean, collectively, we were in recovery from COVID, right? So, but we're all in recovery from something. It might be, a personal tragedy. It might be the loss of a loved one. It might be, things like you lost your job, your career, and couldn't get back to where you wanted to be. I mean, all kinds of things, right? So we're all recovering from something. And so as I made the choice to go and work over at Walton Whole Health and Fitness, I started seeing that just everyday people who are thriving, who have careers, etc. They have struggles in their life, whatever it is. It might be stress, it might be marital issues, it might be they drink too much wine, whatever it is. And so I get the joy, absolute joy of getting to work with people from all walks of life. But then, inevitably, some of them come to me and, they want help. They want to start drinking less, or they want to lessen their stress, or they want to improve their sleep, whatever it is. And so now I get to work with people in that way as well, who are out there doing the thing and high functioning and living their lives. And yet, if they didn't have these struggles, they would feel so much better. Their state of well-being
Yeah.
would be improved, and therefore their productivity would be improved.
That's
And,
wonderful.
that's a missing piece I think a lot of companies, workplaces don't consider is that your employee is gonna be so much better as an employee if they are healthier and happier, and yeah, so that's a great point that you bring up.
Yeah, exactly. Through my career, so I had several challenges in life. I lost an infant 4 days after birth to a congenital heart defect. I divorced, and then, my son struggled with addiction and we lost him. So those were three major, major life events that happened while I was working in corporate America. And I would like to think that I stayed very productive and high performing. And maybe I did, maybe I didn't. But being under that kind of stress, there's no way I was as good of a employee, as high performing as I would have been if I hadn't had all those things happen. Now we can't prevent life from happening. We can help equip and empower people how they deal with that and help them, move forward probably more quickly when they get the support that they need.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, this really inspires me because, Tanya and Gina, both of you showcase what resiliency is. It's just amazing how, Tanya, I've known your story, and it's just a fascinating example of how with proper mindset, we can kind of move out and grow out and be stronger.
Keep pushing forward, yeah. And then, like you, Gina, it inspired me through my own struggles. It inspired me to try and help others who I knew were struggling and going through something similar. So it's inspiring after the fact.
But for some people, it is. And I'm thankful I was one of those people. I certainly can see how when you have those kind of struggles, it
Yeah,
can
yeah.
defeat you. Do
Absolutely, yeah.
I have an understanding now of that maybe I didn't have before. But I can remember standing in my kitchen one day and realizing that I had the skills, that I had learned the skills that I needed to take this unbelievable, indescribable tragedy and do something good with it. And so knowing that I could do that, that's what drove me initially. I felt like it was kind of a responsibility in a way,
Yeah.
but it immediately became my passion and my calling.
Yeah.
And I realized I have resiliency. I can do this. And the truth is that as I started helping people, like you just said, like it helped me. It was very healing for me. It got to the point where, in those first few years, my husband and I would go on vacation, we'd go somewhere really beautiful, and for the first 2 days or something, it was great. It was beautiful and I was enjoying myself. Maybe I was grieving, doing some grieving work, but I was enjoying the trip and all that. And then I can remember about 3 or 4 days in, I'd look out and just I didn't feel fulfilled because I wasn't there sitting, in the hospitals and in the dark rooms with the people who needed the help. That's where I felt the happiest. That's where I wanted to be to make a
And
difference.
that's a section of the well-being wheel is that contributional wellness. When you are giving back to others or you have a purpose, that's a huge part of your well-being as well.
I mean, I would say it's the center of the wheel.
For me, it is for sure.
Yeah, it is the center of the wheel. When we are connected into our purpose, our whole life can change. And we have the ability to help change our lives and to change others, I think, when we are connected into our purpose. And so for me, just continuing to grow my skill set, to learn more, find additional ways to help others improve their well-being. It helps me. My new favorite thing is foam rollers. If anybody wants to foam roll, but there's just continuing to help others improve their well-being is just where my passion is. And so, yes, grief is still there. There are days that are hard. That's going to be the case. And yet, my sleep is better. My immune system is improved. I'm working right now to reduce the inflammation, but I'm making some progress on that. I have found a nutritional support line that I'm really passionate about that I'm starting to use myself and promote to others. And so, really bringing a comprehensive approach with movement, breath, sound, using reflection and nutrition to help people improve their well being, best version of themselves.
That is so wonderful.
Yeah.
I'd like to be your client.
Oh, we need to move, Dr.
Yeah,
Yu.
yeah, yeah. Uh,
Exactly.
but but something's really happening in Bentonville, with the new medical school,
Oh,
the
yeah.
Whole Health Institute. I've been there. I've talked to the dean and all
Wonderful.
that kind of stuff. It's beautiful
Excellent.
having new set of doctors looking at, health in a more holistic way. So it's something.
Okay, so I live 2 minutes from there. So I expect you will come see me next time
But
you're here.
I have a suspicion that I've been to your house in your backyard because when my son and I were mountain biking, there's a lot of loop-de-doops in that area, and it's in a residential neighborhood, and that's probably where
You probably were in my
you live. And we
backyard.
went to the slaughter pen and all that kind of stuff.
Yes. Okay, so yes, Slaughter Pen is just down the street from us, and that was my son's playground.
I've been,
That's
yeah.
where the
So
duck
I've
park
been to
was.
your, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, there's actually 2 memorials to him out there. So, yeah,
Aw.
next time you're in town, we'll do a little bike ride.
yeah.
Oh, maybe we'll have
Yeah,
to,
yeah. I go
make a
visit
special
there.
trip, Dr.
Yeah.
Yu. We can
All
go
We
right.
can have
together.
a team meeting here in Bentonville.
Yes.
That's good. I like.
But
It.
Yes.
we're so fortunate now to have Alice Walton's new awesome, the medical school, the Whole Health Institute. And so again, creating that ecosystem here of helping persons improve their whole health and well-being and really think about, hopefully the medical community in a different way, being more open to other ways to help individuals improve their well-being. So I'm very excited and encouraged to see what the future holds for that in the health and
Me
medical
too.
space.
I'm
Wonderful.
super, super excited about that. I think Alice is onto something, and I can't wait to see these doctors graduate, become part of the community, and, kind of transform the way that we look at health. It, it is a holistic approach. And I know Dr. Yu is very, very big proponent of that in his work. But yeah, I'm really excited that she's going to be pushing out doctors left and right that are also going to be contributing to that.
The day that we get to the place where doctors prescribe yoga, meditation,
That's
sound
me.
bath, right? Like you're doing. And I know some other doctors here in the state that are doing that, and in here in Northwest Arkansas, who are doing that. Imagine if every child grew up doing yoga during school or at
Mhm.
home, practicing meditation, learning how to calm their central nervous system, get themselves out of fight, flight, or freeze,
Yes.
use their coping skills. The coping skill tool that we use through the curriculum that Alice's team trained me in is called Pause, Notice, and Choose. We do pause, notice, and choose all the time, every day in the classes that we teach at Walton Whole Health and Fitness. What if we were teaching our children intentionally to pause, stop, pay attention, notice without judging how they're feeling? If they're angry, noticing that, noticing where they feel it in their bodies, and then choosing to respond versus react with anger and fear. What if we taught every child that? What kind of difference would that make in their lives throughout the
It would
year?
have such a ripple effect.
Right?
More mindful response,
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's cool. I
Yeah, it
love that.
would it would be wonderful. Gina, there you go. There's your article for this month.
Yeah, I love that. The pause, notice, and respond. So I teach meditation here as well, and we teach rain and
Yeah.
stop. Yeah, it's kind of very
Yeah,
similar.
it's very similar. I personally like pause, notice, choose. It's a little bit easier. I say P and C for short all the time, but RAIN is also effective, whatever it is you're doing. My company where I do work out in the general population is Spark Wellbeing, and it's SPARC. And so spark well-being using stillness, using presence, creating awareness, releasing what you no longer need to hold on to, and then creating that connectivity with yourself as well as with others.
Like that. Yeah.
Spark well-being.
Sparky.
How do we help people spark well-being in their own life? And I think, Dr. Yu, it's so great, as you're prescribing, there's a social prescribing initiative across the country with providers who are trying to bring these types of mindfulness, prescriptions and programs, et cetera, out into the general population. And, ultimately everyone wants to change, the payer model and the payee model so that, that this kind of thing is covered. And so, how you get there and all that. And I know there's just a lot of work, being done, all that. But yeah.
It's
I'm
wonderful.
super excited. Okay, so how can people get in touch with you and learn more and possibly use you as a provider?
Yeah. So I have a social media presence with Spark Wellbeing. And so on Facebook, on Instagram, I will be launching my Spark Wellbeing, I think is what it's going to be, website in a week or so.
Yeah.
And so, and also through speakaboutdrugs.org, people can reach me there. There's Facebook pages and Instagram for speakaboutdrugs.org as well. So,
And you're part of the Arkansas Wellness Network, so they
yeah, I'm
can find you there.
part of on, so
Yeah.
people can reach me there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so, I actually also am just launching a website on Zilis.com, so it's ZILIS.com, and then it's /Coach Gina, and, that's the website where I'm, presenting, promoting well-being products, everything from weight management products to the one I love, which is a sleep product, all plant-derived products. And there's a great one that I'm using to help reduce inflammation, and so I'm very excited about that initiative. So, lots of ways to reach me.
All right. Well, we can't wait to learn more.
Thank
So,
you.
normally when we wrap up, everybody has to give a health tip. So,
I have mine.
All
Who
right.
wants to go first?
all right, go ahead, Gina.
Go ahead.
Foam rolling. As I said, my new favorite thing is foam rolling to release the fascia in our bodies and to hydrate the fascia in our bodies. And when we do that, our bodies feel so much better and our muscles move with ease. So I say foam roll.
I love that. Dr. Yu?
Well, what I'd like to take out of this call is really to learn that I've learned something new in describing the pause, the noticing, and the response.
Choosing.
choosing. Notice choose. I'll steal that from you, and whoever would benefit from that, I'll give it to them.
Yeah, we
Excellent.
need you to do an article on that so you can teach
Yeah.
us.
Yeah.
For me, this week in the news, they just came out with the inverted food pyramid. And that is a huge success to me because it's actually one of the things that I wrote a thesis on years ago on how the USDA had originally intended to come out with a food pyramid back in the 80s that's very similar to what was just released, but it was influenced by manufacturing companies and farmers and different things. And it was completely changed and turned upside down. And it was a complete surprise. I believe it was Dr. Louise Light. I think that was her name. She
Mm-hmm.
was the head person for the USDA, and she was not informed ahead of time that they were flipping it upside down to appease the food manufacturers, and she was very upset. She wrote an expose about it. I think she wrote books about it. I believe she ended up leaving the USDA because of it. She was so upset. And so I'm really excited. I'm not saying it's perfect. There are definitely some controversies, but it is much closer
Yeah.
to what the nutritionists, dietitians, doctors, and experts recommended back in the 80s that got
Mhm.
flipped upside down. So I'm really excited and I want everybody to go out. I'm going to write an article on that for the next magazine so that people can learn a little bit more about that. But that's my health tip. Go learn about it. And the biggest thing that I believe that comes from that is eating whole foods.
It's wonderful.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes. After a long 26-year career of processed foods, yes, whole
Yes.
food. No, it's exactly right. I didn't realize.
Nobody
And
did. No. We were taught. I ate, breathed, slept. I taught as a teacher. I taught the food pyramid thinking that it was what we should be eating.
right. Yeah. But, know better, do better. And so we learn and grow, and that's where we're at and what we're all trying to do.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Very
Wonderful.
excited. All
Well, I'm
right.
very excited, and I appreciate you coming, and looks like you are going to be one of the leaders as well. So it's
I'm excited to be a co-host. Yeah, I'm very
Yes,
excited.
yes. We're
Yeah.
excited to have you.
Well,
We're very excited about the podcast and everybody getting to know all the different providers, and we're very thankful that you joined us.
Well, this is a tremendous initiative and just excited to see how it's going to benefit the people of Arkansas. And so go from there.
Arkansas.
I'm from Texas originally. So I'm always like, Arkansans, Arkansas.
I love it. All
All
right.
right.
Well,
Thank
everybody
you
have
all.
a wonderful day
Yeah.
and
You too.
join us next time for a new provider. Learn more.
all righty.
All right.
Bye,
See you all
everybody.
soon. Come bike in Bentonville.
Yes.
Yes. Bye bye. The Arkansas Wellness Network and the Wellness Connection are an initiative of Reinventing Ourselves, a 501c3 nonprofit promoting health, happiness, and hope.